Welcome, everybody. This is episode 4 of It's Called Soccer Summer Series. We've got a lot coming up on today's show. We'll be joined by U.S. men's national team goalkeeper Matt Freese, Fox Sports' own Rob Stone, as we look ahead to Sunday's Gold Cup final between the United States and Mexico. But first, it feels like soccer's very insignificant in moments like these. The sad news broke yesterday of the passing of Diogo Jota and his brother André. So first and foremost, our thoughts go out to their family and friends. Jota was 28 years old. He was married to his wife Ruth 11 days ago, and they had 3 children. André Silva, Jota's brother, was 25 years old, and he played in the Portuguese second division. Tributes have poured in from around the world of soccer and football, including Jota's national team captain, Cristiano Ronaldo, who said, quote, "It just doesn't make sense." Jota's club team, Liverpool, released a statement saying they are devastated by the tragic passing and have asked for the privacy to be respected of all involved as they try to come to terms with an unimaginable loss. Former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp paid an emotional tribute to Diogo Jota, saying, quote, "Not only a fantastic player, but also a great friend and a loving and caring husband and father," end quote. Dax, you're a dad, I'm a dad. You're a husband, I'm a husband. Buddy, this hits hard.
Yeah. No, I'm gutted. I'm devastated. And we're staying at my mother-in-law's house right now. And so, my kids are kind of all over the place. Getting them to bed is difficult. So I woke up next to my 6-year-old. He crawled in bed with us late last night. And I saw the news early this morning. And it makes you emotional. It really does, because I don't know Diogo Jota. Never met the guy in my life. I can speak about him as a soccer player, which obviously seems insignificant. But Taylor, you know those feelings you get when you watch players who just bring a smile to your face. That is the type of player that it seemed like Jota was for me. And then now you see him as a person, and you see the tributes pouring in, and you see that he was married just 11 days ago. He's got 3 kids. By all accounts, just a wonderful person, a wonderful father, a wonderful teammate. And it makes things it puts things in perspective, because you realize how insignificant the sporting side actually is and how devastating the personal side actually is. And so for me, a heartfelt condolences sent out to everyone who knew Diogo Jota and his family, his wife and kids. Obviously can't imagine what they're going through right now. It shows you, T, that life is really precious.
What's interesting, Dax, is so often in our world, we fret about the past, we worry about the future, and we forget about today. And the only thing we're guaranteed is the moment we live in. And that is very, very difficult at times in our world and our society to just stay in the moment. And with so much hate in the world, whether it's on social media or whether it's in our everyday lives, I think we all need to respect the moment, respect the understanding that the Jota family is really, really hurting. I think it's only right that you and I take a moment here and then we do what we do and we talk about the game and the game that we love. Matt, welcome to the show. Matt Freese, United States men's national team goalkeeper. You will now be facing Mexico in the Gold Cup final on Sunday. My man, welcome to the show. How are you guys feeling, and how are you feeling?
Thanks for having me. Feels exciting. Obviously a huge opportunity, and it's going to be a great game.
Matt, when you talk about that opportunity, you are the first player that comes to mind when I think about the opportunity that came in the Gold Cup. When did you know this was going to be your tournament? And more importantly, how excited are you with how your career has gone that this is your opportunity to represent the United States at the national team level?
Yeah, I think, there's a conversation between me and Maurizio, early on in camp that hopefully I'd be getting an opportunity to play in, one of these games, whether it's the friendlies or the group stages. And then, he just told me to be myself, that I had earned it. And, I just need to go out there and do my thing. I've been very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for, having gotten kind of, the run over these last few games in the tournament. Means a ton, that this is happening, but also, really not trying to overthink it or overplay it in my head. This is something I want to keep building on, and each new game is one more under my belt, and one more reason to feel comfortable and natural and confident in there.
Matt, I was in Nashville for the Switzerland game, for the Switzerland result, where, look, it felt like the vibes were pretty low at that point in time. Sebastian Berhalter actually just spoke post-game recently after the Guatemala win about how you guys have really come together as a group over the last month or so. Can you just speak to maybe the internal conversations that you guys had as a team, maybe the message from Pochettino going into the Gold Cup, and how maybe, listen, I'll be the first to admit, I was a little skeptical about how big of a run you guys were going to be able to make in the Gold Cup because of the performances. Can you just talk about how the group has come together over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the group has, we were all talking about it last night, and I was actually texting some of my high school friends about it. The vibes in this group are really good. Just the way we've gelled over the last month and a half, being in a hotel for 5.5 weeks will do that to you. We knew that one of the goals of this summer, in addition to, lifting the trophy, the secondary goal was to gel as a team and, get some chemistry going. And it's been very genuine, very authentic. Those types of relationships have just been formed, it's awesome to be a part of. And, following that Switzerland game, it was a tough one for the team, for all of us, obviously. The message really was very quickly, just need to rebound. This is not a time to feel bad for yourselves. And, it was a friendly, we want to win the friendlies, but we got a tournament coming up in 4 days or whatever it was. Got to turn the page, turn the script real quick.
Yeah, Matt, I just want to hit on your superhuman PK abilities. Listen, I played in a time when Nick Rimando, it almost felt like he knew where you were going. Watching you in that penalty kick shootout, I was like, every single time, I feel like he's going to guess the right way. Now it's a matter of just making the saves. I just want to ask you about your PK process, your work with your goalkeeper coaches. Have you always been super confident in penalty kicks? And what are some of the little small tricks of the trade that you use? Because honestly, I mean, it could be very beneficial coming up into this final.
Yeah, I'm sorry to kill your question. I'm probably going to keep some of my process to myself until after this game.
I don't blame you, Matt. Why would you tell anyone the secrets?
Hopefully it's not necessary, and hopefully we do our business during the 90 minutes. But it's a big game, and I want to be ready for it. But yeah, I mean, I think I have always been confident in penalty kicks. With that being said, anything can happen on any given day. I was a little frustrated I didn't save the one in the 90 minutes against Costa Rica. Got my hand to it. I don't know if you guys watched also I think it was Guatemala, Canada penalty kicks.
Yes.
But it's quite similar where the goalkeepers were getting their hands to it. These balls just fly. They really do. And so, you kind of have to change your hand shape and your body positioning on the dives to get a strong enough piece of these balls. And I think that's part of it as well.
Matt, I've followed you through your academy career and all the way to the point of now getting a real opportunity to be the starter with New York City. Is there a goalkeeper or two that you watched growing up or that influenced you in being the goalkeeper that you are today, but two, just motivating you that you can be a goalkeeper at the highest level?
Yeah, Tim Howard is the very easy answer for that one. I watched him constantly growing up, his days at Everton. I played high school soccer. I played high school soccer and academy, kind of had to do a dual situation thing because I had to play sports for my high school. And I wore Tim Howard's Everton jersey for my high school team because we didn't have goalkeeper jerseys. So that's what I would throw on. So, very, very cool. And obviously a huge honor to be able to represent this team and this country in the way that he did. I have a long way to go before I can say anything, the way he did, if that makes sense, because he's an absolute legend and has so many games, so much success at this level. But just the tenacity that he had and the drive he had was, in my opinion, really unmatched by anyone that I was able to see.
Matt, I'm going to give you an opportunity to redeem Harvard University. I've lived here in Boston for 25 plus years. What is the one misconception about Harvard that everyone on the outside has about it? And Dax, he's not going to come up with one.
Yeah, no, kind of like his PKs.
I would say the one misconception is that everyone there is a nerd. I would say, there's a lot of people that, although they're very smart, they also have great social skills, great other attributes. And, I was very fortunate to meet, a bunch of great people there.
All right, Matt, let's take it to MLS play really quickly. NYCFC right now, you guys are sitting right on the cusp of the playoff line. I'm just curious as to what you guys see as what you need to do with NYCFC moving forward to really make a push at the end of the year here to get in the playoffs and maybe fight for a trophy.
Yeah, I think we just need to keep going. It's a young team. The ups and downs will happen. I'd imagine we're going to get a piece or two over this window. We obviously just got Aiden O'Neill. He's going to be a fantastic piece. It's a group that the ceiling is very, very high, but I also think at our lowest, the ground is also quite low. In terms of we're inconsistent. You see this past weekend in Montreal. We lost at home against Montreal, and then we go and tie Miami, tie Columbus, beat Philly, beat Cincy.
Yep.
It's just we've got to level that roller coaster, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just keep riding it and keep improving every day and minimize the ups and downs.
Matt, final one. I've been asked a million different ways to Sunday. Who is Pochettino? What's he like? But I'm on the outside. You're on the inside. How would you describe your short time with him as a manager, especially for those that are listening to the show globally that are interested in Pochettino, where he was in England, where he was in Europe, to now where he is at the international level?
Yeah, he's amazing to work with. Very personable, very honest, very trusting, but also very demanding on the field. And I think that's what we need as a group. He did a fantastic job. And I know we were talking about the Switzerland game right afterwards. The very simple, very immediate message was, just move on. We have a tournament coming up. That's what matters now. He's very, very forward thinking. As soon as any mistake or as any bad moment happens, whether it's in training or a game, he always, urges us to think about the next one. The next one's the only one that matters is what he says. And especially in a tournament, that's super important. And then obviously tactically, he's fantastic, second to none. And he's super experienced and it's been great to work with him. I know all the guys also are really enjoying working with him. And I think he is a big catalyst for the way that this group has gelled over this month.
Matt, after you beat Mexico in the Gold Cup final on Sunday, would you like us to send you a new pair of headphones, or what are those?
I don't know. These might be JBL.
Hey, Taylor, he's going to be.
In which case, I don't think you're allowed to say that. I'm sure they're a sponsor.
Taylor, he's going to be DJ in the after party afterwards. All right, that's all I want to know. Hey, man, best of luck, dude.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you, guys. Appreciate it.
It's Called Soccer is brought to you by our partner, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Soccer is heating up around the world this summer, and FanDuel is the ultimate place to bet every match, every goal, every moment. Because right now, FanDuel is giving you profit boost every match day. That means more ways to win, with bigger payouts on the bets you already love, like same-game parlays, match winners, goal scorers, cup futures, and so much more. By the way, you want a little tip? Both teams to score in the first half of the Gold Cup final? I would say no. Whatever your picks, FanDuel is giving out Profit Boost tokens during all Club World Cup and Gold Cup matches. So with live betting, lightning fast payouts, and boosts that hit every round, there's no better place to play than America's #1 sportsbook. So don't just watch, bet with a boost. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's $150 in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com/ICS or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and keep your summer of soccer going with FanDuel. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable Profit Boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. It's been a long time coming for me, Dax, to introduce Fox Sports' Rob Stone. Rob Stone, for those of you that are new to this world, has been doing this for a long time. He's been doing it very well for a long time. And he's also just been a soccer football junkie. I said football, Rob, because I know it will chap your rear end and you hate when people say football in the country of the United States of America. But Rob, welcome. How are you, buddy?
Thanks, buddy. Awesome to see you guys. Happy summer. Dax, boy, the struggle is real down there on the Jersey Shore for you. So fight through it, my friend. Fight through it, brother.
I'm trying. Hey, lot of sunscreen, a lot of SPF going on this face, okay?
Yeah, you can hardly tell. Dax is not that red.
Right, is the shower setting, like, it's not for hard water, it's just for suntan lotion? It just comes right out of the nozzle and you just bathe in it and move it around.
How I've gone this long in my career without getting some sort of sunscreen sponsorship, I'll never know.
Yeah. Well, listen, I hang out with a ginger a lot as well.
I know.
So I understand the perils of you people.
Yep. And the one thing about both of them, Rob, is they're getting their hair cut in weird ways. So anyways, we digress.
Too soon.
Stoner, let's start right where, just on a macro level, I think for the global listeners to understand, because you've been doing this for a long time. You've been around the United States men's national team for a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen the energy and ambiance around a team be close to 50-50 positive negative. There's such a negative undertone when it comes to the United States men's national team. Would you agree with me? And if so, elaborate on why you think it is.
50-50.
Is that being too generous?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I actually thought when you started that question that you were going to say, I've never seen such a flip in such a brief time on how people are feeling about the national team, because it was dark, it was gloomy, it was that cloud hanging over their head before the start of the Gold Cup, the 4-game losing streak. I think there were real questions like, kind of more like whispers, like, hey, is Pochettino the right guy? Why aren't these players coming in? The general fan doesn't totally understand all of those reasons. Some of them, everybody should understand, like, I don't get why you're here. You can walk and play, and it's your national team, and the World Cup is a year out. So that's where I thought you were going. So I think, if anything, the pendulum has started to swing over the last, whatever it was, two and a half weeks. But coming into this tournament, and listen, I've covered the U.S. men's national team since I think like 1997, something like that. And I was at the 98 World Cup with them in France. And yeah, it's awful. The fans used to flock to this program and used to really care about it. And, I remember going to World Cup qualifiers, up at Old Foxborough Stadium, and people are tailgating out there, and man, they cared about this program. I think social media has something to do with it.
I agree.
There's just this freedom to really eviscerate people, and the negativity is almost embraced. It's like you can kind of strut around town a little bit bigger with that chest thrown out because you can trash those that talk about U.S. soccer, and you can trash those that are trying to represent your country and whatever it is. It's just an easy out. So yeah, I think there has been this real general apathy around the U.S. men's national team as the same time as the women, just kind of continue to rise. I do feel like it's turning. Last night in your great town, Taylor, of St. Louis, I was hoping for a little higher percentage of American fans. God bless Guatemalan fans. My goodness. Yeah. Amazing. They have been so tremendous throughout this Gold Cup. But, to me, when you talk American soccer, and we did a feature on it last night, you're talking St. Louis. I love you, Kearney, New Jersey, but you're just like this little almost outlier pocket, and, the Milwaukees and whatever, the other places in the world. But what St. Louis represented, I was like, oh, here we go. Like, we are going into the heart of America. This place is going to be dripping red, white, and blue. And then I was like, oh, we're going back to the old World Cup qualifiers where no game was a home game. No matter if it was Honduras or El Salvador or Costa Rica or whatever was happening. But I'm all over the place right now because I kind of have my optimism back for this U.S. team. And it's because of this collection of talent that did it. It's not the guys that aren't here. It's this random collection, Dax, because it is kind of like a weird summer camp, right? Like this team kind of got to summer camp. You're like, I don't know who my bunkmate is. This mattress smells. I don't know about this dude from Jersey or this guy from the shore or this guy from St. Louis. But camp is kind of coming to a close, and these dudes are still going to be calling each other and sending letters to each other. Like this has been a real good moment for this program, and I think for the fan base as well.
Yeah, I saw Sebastian Berhalter talk a little bit about it post game, talking about how they've just really come together as a group over the last month and a half or so. But to take it to a very, very positive direction, which you can only, I think, when you talk about this guy, go that way. Diego Luna, I saw what you posted on Twitter yesterday, about Diego Luna and about how it's our job as Americans and as people with stakes in the game to find more Diego Lunas, because what he's doing right now is incredible. 3 goals, 2 assists in the Gold Cup. Obviously, both goals last night to put the U.S. into the final. Honestly, Rob, I don't want this to sound hot takey, but I think Diego Luna's making a bit as big of a splash maybe as like a Christian Pulisic when he first came onto the scene. Yeah. I may be missing a player or two in between, but this feels, especially in this Gold Cup, like Diego Luna's team. Can you just speak to the impact that you've seen him have in real time now?
Yeah, he's become the face of this program, right? If we're thinking about who we're going to promote, it was Pochettino, right, because of what he's done. And then all of a sudden Malik Tillman, fits that bill. But the look of Diego Luna, there's just something about him that, and I can only speak for me, but I think it's for a lot of American soccer fans out there, that just pulls me in. And I'm like, I want to see this kid. I want to see what he does. And he's fun to play. And he's all over the place, too. And it's not like aimlessly tail on fire, running all over the place type stuff. He's finding himself in pockets. That first goal last night, I love, because he's like, you know what? I think that ball is going to go there on a rebound, like a classic rebounder, right? Like those dudes, Charles Barkley, always knew where the ball was going to be. Yep. And he beat his guy to it. That was another thing. He beat his defender to it. And that defender, it was great because he did the old, like, offside. It was like, please, because that guy just did the job better than I could do. So if I'm Diego Luna's agent right now, I hope I'm busy as hell. I hope phone calls are coming in. I hope he's got a ton of deals. Real Salt Lake, your phone is heating up right now because this cat is hot. There's part of me that kind of would want him just to stay in a good place right now. Like, everything seems to be working for you right now with Pablo and with Salt Lake and with this national team. Like, let's just kind of keep incrementally growing it rather than plucking you and dropping you somewhere else where all of a sudden maybe that playing time goes down, or I don't know. I just feel like he's in a good place right now with everything he's doing. And you're right. He attracts the eyeball because of his look, but also because of what he does on the field. And it frustrates a lot of people out there. To my point, Dax, what you're talking about, that there has to be more Diego Lunas out there. I've got a Colgate Soccer text chain, and they're screaming and yelling about things like this. And then, a lot of my Colgate guys went into finance, so they want to talk numbers. I'm not big in the numbers, but one of the numbers things that they break down is just the actual odds of us not having these talents. Like, how could it be? Look at the populations of the last 3 opponents for the U.S. at the Gold Cup. Haiti, 11.9 million. Costa Rica, 5.1 million. That's it, Costa Rica? Guatemala, 18.6 million. United States, 347 million people. Like, just
insane.
with the odds, like my Colgate guys' brains are like, this hurts my head. How are there not more talent? How can we not find these guys? And they do exist. And I think that is one of the magic questions at U.S. Soccer. And let's be honest, that they've been trying to figure it out for generations is how are we missing these guys? How are we not nurturing them correctly when we do find them? And I think a lot of it now is just like, can we just find them and then just let them do their thing? You know, maybe provide some bumpers for them. Like, hey, you're going a little too far left, a little too far right, but you're on the right track, man. And you know, we see kids playing all the time now. And listen, I love a good 5v2. I could spend all day. Like a summer camp for me would be a 5v2 summer camp. Rob, go out there, play 5v2 for 3 hours, and we'll come back in for lunch. Sign me up, coach. I'm in. But there needs to be like these attacking drills and one-on-one. And you know what? Screw one-on-one. How about 1v2s once in a while? I'm going to take both of you cats on. I'm going to split you guys because guess what? That's what the El Salvadors and the Costa Ricas do. They split defenders. They're taking 2 guys on. So we need to find these guys. And it frustrates me that we have goalkeeper camps, like the Dr. Joe Macknick #1 goalkeeper camp, right? We all remember those from the summers. But I'm like, how is there not a Brian McBride soccer striker academy? Why is there not a Taylor Twellman goal scoring?
Because we want people to succeed.
We want them to be good.
We want people to be good. Like, exactly, Dax.
Taylor,
if we had that camp, that wouldn't work. Stoner,
listen, I know you got a big head, but some of it you should deserved, all right? Because you are a hell of a player. My favorite line about you is like, you would not be afraid to put your head in a blender to score a goal, right? It's going to have to be a really damn big blender, but you wouldn't have been afraid to do it.
And by the way, I did, and the career ended at age 28.
I know. Sorry about that.
Stoner, I think it's so important for where you are in your life, how often you've done this. You're the host of Fox Sports. You guys have done a fantastic job. We're a year out from the World Cup, the biggest World Cup ever, and it's a twofold question before we let you go. First and foremost, it was right here on this show, Pochettino said in September of last year, the quarterfinals was the goal. 1, do you think that's achievable? But 2, more importantly, Rob, Sunday, Gold Cup final, U.S.-Mexico. You and I both know, and everybody else. 70,000, 65,000 are going to be Mexican. That is going to be the most difficult test and the last one for the United States men before their first competitive game in the World Cup. What are your expectations for the Gold Cup final, and how achievable is the quarterfinals in the World Cup next year? 343
days from the start of the FIFA World Cup right now. I think let's answer next summer, right?
Yep.
Getting out of the group stage with the expanded World Cup, it's absolutely mandatory. It is an utter abject failure if you don't get out of the group stage. And then I would argue it's even kind of a soft failure if you can't get out of the round of 32 into the 16.
I agree.
Yeah,
Stoner, I agree.
So 16 feels like a safe place. And then you guys all know once you get to that point, you're like,
then
it's all gravy, right? It's all gravy. It's bonus. I believe in this team and this player pool more because I think what was achieved this summer is going to motivate the guys who weren't here. I really do truly believe that. I think the fact that Luna's and Tillman's and the Richards and the Berhalters running around the field has kind of prodded, put a little hot poker underneath some of these guys. Like, I really need to step my game up and I need to step up this thing, my heart, my patriotism as well. I'm really loving that aspect. I think for this summer, I felt semifinals was attainable. Again, look at the countries we're talking about, right? And we should get through this, right? As Mexico should. I kind of wanted Canada to be there last night because
me too.
Because the U.S. needs these tests, as you mentioned. We don't have World Cup qualifying. We don't have a lot of competitive games that really matter going forward. They're going to have some great games, right? Some of the tune-ups that have been scheduled already. Excellent job scheduling by U.S. Soccer, but it doesn't matter. Like, it matters with a tournament and a trophy on the line. And I think the setting is perfect. I think Pochettino is learning more about Costa Rica. I think last night was an eye-opener for him. Like, tell me more about this Guatemala, right? Did we fly into Guatemala City? What is happening here? I thought we were in Middle America in St. Louis. I think he's learning kind of like what our players have had to go through, and he hasn't even done World Cup qualifying in El Salvador or Costa Rica, right, which is a whole nother game, and you guys know about that intimately. But I think the setting in Dallas is perfect because it's going to be, in Houston, because it's a World Cup venue. You're going to be playing in stadiums that are going to be this packed, this loud. Ideally, next summer, that fan base is going to be red, white, and blue, but that's fine.
Yep.
Like let's have these adversarial moments. Let's grow up. Let's have old man Tim Ream bring all these youngsters around and put your arm around each other and go, guys.
Oh, hey, whoa, Stoner, be careful though, because that's shame on us for questioning them losing 4 games in a row and being bad. Anyways, I digress.
I read that. I kind of know where he's going, but also he needs to 100% understand where we're coming from.
Come on,
man.
Buddy. I mean, you guys
his comment before the shame on you is like totally fair, but come on, man. We got to analyze what we see, right, Rob?
First off, do it after you win the final, Stoner.
Yes.
After you win the final, do the comment, not before it.
Feel free to come at everybody if you're walking around Houston with the title and
with a trophy, no
and
problem.
You're flashing it in front of all those Mexican fans. And by the way, I don't think Mexico's been at their best. They've been like this subdued Mexico team. They're not the world beaters that we're used to kind of seeing. So I absolutely, I think it's there for the taking. It's going to be a quick turnaround. Good thing it's indoors. But I think the U.S., I don't think they're the favorite, and I think that's fine because this nation, this team, historically plays better when they're the underdog. When it's guys like the three of us saying, I think you guys are kind of fortunate just to be there. You guys surpassed all of our expectations, right? And I think that's when they're at their best.
For the last 27, 28 years, the voice you just heard, Rob Stone of Fox Sports, has been in and around the game. He's one of the greatest guys in the business, but more so, he's got a great haircut, unlike Dax. Rob, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Just rolled out of bed with this, baby.
Hey, fill us in. Where are they going to watch it? July 6th, 6 o'clock Eastern on Fox, right?
Yeah,
Pre-game?
on Fox. On Fox. We'll be there.
All right, Dax, your favorite time of the episode. We're back with our picks of the week, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Dax, I actually beat you last week. I scored 2 points. I don't know how that happened, but the comeback is, they're telling me to say the comeback is on. Yeah, the comeback's not on, dude. But anyways, I digress. Let's start with PSG, Bayern Munich, quarterfinal Club World Cup, 5th of July, 12 o'clock Eastern. Tell me your result and give me a goal score.
PSG wins the game, Taylor. I love what they're doing right now in every facet of the game. They're dominant. They can beat you in a ton of different ways. PSG wins the game 3-1, and guess who's back? Ousmane Dembele. He gets a brace. What do you got?
I got PSG winning the game. I think they win 3-2, and I love Vitinha right now. Everything about him is just as sexy as it goes. Real Madrid, Dortmund, Club World Cup, 5th of June, 4 o'clock Eastern, MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. What do you got?
I actually think this one is going to be a lot more low scoring. Real Madrid, they look okay. I don't really think they're playing excellent right now. I think Real Madrid wins this game 1-0 off a Jude Bellingham goal. What do you got?
Ooh, okay. Look at you sticking with this center midfielders, you loser. I'll take Real Madrid. I actually disagree with you. I think Dortmund can't defend them in that heat, in that environment. I think it's going to be a lot of goals. I'm going to say 4-2 Mbappe with a brace.
Wow.
And how about the big one, Dax? U.S.-Mexico Gold Cup Final, 6th of July, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas.
This is a very exciting time for both U.S. and Mexico fans.
You sound so excited.
I have no idea who should be the favorite in this game. It's a pretty average Mexico team from my eyes. It's not a great U.S. team right now, although I don't want to say things. I don't want to be too aggressive or else Tim Ream might get mad at me. So I got to say, I think that this is going to be the biggest test that either of these teams have faced in the Gold Cup right now. I see the game playing out. It's going to be cagey. It's going to be chippy. There's going to be yellow cards galore. I see it playing out 1-1. And unfortunately, I think Mexico takes it in penalties. Even though we have the penalty guru, Matt Freese, I just feel like Mexico takes this one.
Quote, shame on them, end quote, is what Tim Ream said. I am taking Mexico. I think they win 2-1 in an environment that will feel like they're playing in Mexico City. And I think Raul Jimenez will be the difference between the United States and Mexico. Dax, I now want to hit on the Club World Cup, and I would say the biggest shock of the tournament, Manchester City knocked out by Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia, but it was more so the conversation leading into the game and also after the game. Pep Guardiola said before the game that the Club World Cup could, quote, destroy Manchester City's 2025-26 season. Well, he might not have to worry that much about it because they lost in the round of 16. First and foremost, let's just start with that. Would you agree with me that's the biggest shock of the tournament up to this point?
Yeah, I'd agree with you, T. And but it was a wonderful game. I mean, my
awesome game.
Back and forth. Both teams really going for it. Al Hilal, I think in general, I mean, if you look at their roster and the team that they put on the field, players that have Premier League experience or were sort of sought after by Premier League teams, the talent gap and discrepancy, maybe it's not as much as people that don't follow the Saudi League maybe think about. Yep. But what a game. Like, that's what the Club World Cup is all about, and that's why it's been such I think a success in terms of both teams and in general, more to a broader point, teams really going for it and really caring about it. And a Pep Guardiola coach team, I think they're always going to go and try to win every competition they're in. That's the expectation. But more to Pep's point of this could have destroyed their season, I could see that some players were very frustrated and upset. When you play for Man City, you are expected to win every time you step on the field. But I don't think Pep will be too upset about this. He's won the Club World Cup before with Manchester City, with Barcelona. And I think Pep actually cares a lot more about rebounding in the Premier League. I think that is going to be his main focus because by his standard and by Man City's standard, since he has arrived, their season last year was a total failure, a complete and utter failure. And yet we're sitting still here right now expecting them to be the favorites going in to this new Premier League season, maybe with Liverpool. I don't think Pep will be too upset about it. It doesn't surprise me at all that I think Pep's focus will be and should be on the Premier League season. But what a game. Maybe people now wake up. The Saudi League, they have quality players. They always have, but this is definitely an interesting result. Big upset. What'd you make of the game?
I loved it, Dax, first and foremost, just because I don't know ever again in my lifetime are you ever going to see certain clubs play other clubs from around the world unless it's for the Club World Cup. And so, first and foremost, I love seeing the contrasting styles. I also loved, from my perspective, being here in the United States of America and with Major League Soccer of trying to bridge the gap with the rest of the world. Al Hilal gave you a really good example of how to do that. I thought tactically they were brilliant. Their goalkeeper stood on his head. And they gave something to think about for Manchester City and whatnot. You and I both know this having played the game, and I think it's important for our listeners. You may be upset with the schedule. You may be upset with the timing of the schedule and whenever it may be. But the moment you show up and the whistle blows, you forget all about that and you're going to try to win the game.
You're going for it.
So anyone that tries to convince me that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City were not engaged and not trying to win it, you're going to lose me. Because knowing Pep and seeing what he's done throughout his entire career, both as a player and as a person and as a manager, he's going to try to win every single game. However, I think the conversation is valid. I've learned something in this Club World Cup. I was under the impression that the European club teams play more games than anyone else around the world. That's factually wrong. I didn't know that the Brazilian clubs Fluminense, Palmeiras, and Botafogo play over 73 games in a calendar year. So Dax, first and foremost, when I heard that, I learned something. But then you talk about the scheduling of this tournament. And it's not just Pep Guardiola. It's Jurgen Klopp, who is a colleague of Pep, but also a real competitor and a rival, where both of them have admitted trying to convince the powers that be that the scheduling of this type of tournament is only going to hurt the players. Jurgen Klopp called it the worst idea ever. Even England manager Thomas Tuchel believes that Liverpool and Arsenal will have a big advantage in the Premier League next season because of the other English teams that are in this. How do you fix it though, Dax?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that's my question. I don't know how you fix this.
You can't add more days to the year, right?
No.
It's not possible. So they're not wrong. I don't think there's a perfect solution, Taylor. I really don't. I think that if you were to put this tournament on every couple of years, where maybe it doesn't fall in line with a World Cup or the continental competitions, that maybe you could get away with that. But this is what global soccer is now. This is what global football is. And I didn't know that about the Brazilian teams either, but it definitely puts things in perspective that it's not just the European clubs dealing with this. It's clubs from around the world that are dealing with fixture congestion and players being burnt out and tired. People a lot smarter than you and me need to put their heads together and try to come up with a solution, because I do think that we are going to come to a head in terms of players just saying, it's too much right now.
Another part of this tournament that has caught the attention, I think, of a lot of people around the world, but not anyone that lives in the United States, but it was Chelsea's manager. After a 2-hour delay that took place in the 86th minute when they had a 1-goal lead, he said, quote, "For me personally, it's not football. It's already 7, 8, 9 games that they suspended. I think it's a joke, to be honest. It's not football. It's not for us. You cannot be inside. If you suspend 7 or 8 games, that means that probably is not the right place to do this competition." End quote. Now, for our global listeners here on It's Called Soccer, this is what we do in the United States. Safety comes first. If there's lightning within 15 miles of a stadium, you have to protect the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people that are in that stadium. What nobody's talking about, Dax, is that at this same time when this game was delayed, Charlotte's airport was completely chaotic. And it was not terribly safe at the time because there was threat of tornadoes and thunderstorms, all of that. A long-winded way of me asking you, what do you make of this comments? Because I don't know how to explain this to the rest of the world when this is what we do.
Yeah, I sympathize with Maresca. I really do. Yep. And I also sympathize with all these clubs that are coming into the U.S. from around the world that aren't really familiar with the vast majority of different weather that we get here in the United States. Taylor, I played a game in Chicago, no lie.
I remember this.
It literally was snowing in the first half. Snowing. And then the sun came out, and all the snow melted away quickly. There was a swing of like 20, 30 degrees within 90 minutes. So welcome to the U.S., all right? We have crazy weather, and it's not just on the West Coast or in Middle America or on the East Coast. It's everywhere. So I sympathize with Maresca, I really do. You don't want to have to go into the locker room for 2 hours in the 86th minute after you're defending well and give the other team time to prep and maybe make adjustments and subs. Like I totally understand that. But player safety comes first. Fan safety comes first. And oh, by the way, Maresca, your safety comes first. This is just how things are done in the U.S. As far as like the competition shouldn't be held here, if you went through all the different games that were played here in the United States, how many actually got delayed by weather, it's a very small percentage. It's just the luck of the draw. Maybe you can manipulate that with different kickoff times here and there. But ultimately, this is a little bit whiny from Maresca, and maybe we just need a weatherman or someone to educate everyone before they come over and play here. Hey, listen, there are possibilities here that your game might be delayed. Prepare accordingly.
Dax, I always find this to be the most fun part of the summer because you get transfers, you get rumors, and any kind of rumor, you know me well enough, I'll address it and talk about it. But this is a significant one for you and I, obviously former members of the U.S. men's national team. Malik Tillman's been really good in this Gold Cup. It looks like he's set to join Bayer Leverkusen after a verbal agreement with PSV for around 35 to 40 million euros. His former club, Bayern Munich, they have a buyback clause, but it looks like he's heading to a new-look Leverkusen under Erik ten Hag. First and foremost, I love the move. I think it's great for Tillman. Secondly, more importantly, I think he's going to fit that profile and actually play significant amount of minutes heading into the World Cup. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the move. This Gold Cup has been an eye-opener for me in terms of who Tillman really is as a player. Wasn't able to see him as much at PSV, but he was playing at a good level, right? And anytime you're playing over in the Dutch league for one of the big teams, you're going to get good games, you're going to play with good players, and you're probably going to play in the Champions League or the Europa League. That's what happens. He's making a step up in his career. There's zero question about it. The Bundesliga is a level above the Dutch league, and Bayer Leverkusen has been excellent the last couple of years, obviously under Xabi Alonso, now under Erik ten Hag, who is a long-suffering Man United fan. Not my favorite manager in the world, but I do think that it's very good that Tillman gets to go to the Bundesliga. He gets to go to a team that just sold their best player, a similar type player in Florian Wirtz, who played as a number 10, right, second striker, just an all-around attacker. That's kind of how I see Tillman as well. And so it'll be curious to see how Ten Hag uses him, how he settles in. The one thing that I hope is that because Leverkusen is going to be in multiple competitions, that he will still be able to get minutes, even if he's not maybe quote-unquote first choice. As long as he is starting 25, 30, 35 games for them, I think that is the ideal scenario, playing in the Bundesliga at a great level for a very good team, an important team that's expected to win things. I think it's a no-brainer for him. It's a fantastic move.
And well said. That was my whole point about him getting significant minutes, because it doesn't really matter the competition as long as he's playing consistently and in a regular form. Now, that's the biggest concern of any American playing overseas, but it's also a very positive thing. And the reason why I say this is it's a rarity when you have that number attached to an American player. We saw it first and foremost, Christian Pulisic to Chelsea from Dortmund. What was that, $65 million or whatever it may be. So this makes it the second most expensive American signing transfer in the history of an American player. That's always going to be a positive. And then if he contributes and continues, for lack of a better way to put it, the form we've seen the Gold Cup heading into the World Cup last year, then all parties win, in my opinion. I think Tillman's going to play significant minutes, no matter the competition. I think it's very important. Now, the headlines right now in the transfer window, actually, it's always the headlines. It's Messi and Ronaldo. And Dax, it's 2025. And we still can't get rid of the headlines with Cristiano Ronaldo. He's 40 years old, by the way. And he signed a 2-year extension at $250 million a year. $250 million a year. Dax, huh?
Wow. It must be nice. Cristiano, do you really need all that money?
Yes.
Yeah, it's obviously a staggering number for sure, but this is good for Ronaldo. He
got ownership
right?
of the club, Dax.
good for him, right? Like, Ronaldo, for what you've done in your career, right? Go for it, you know? What's another $100 million for you? But I think the more interesting one, Taylor, is actually the Messi stuff, because
Me too.
2 months ago, when this started to become a story, and we saw Jorge Mas starting to talk about, yes, we're going to agree to a new deal. We really want him to be back. Messi, of course, that is. I thought it would be buttoned up in a few weeks, right? Like, what's really the conversation here? Like, you're going to pay Messi really whatever he wants. He already has ownership in the club. What's the holdup, Taylor? I'm starting to get a little bit of doubt that's creeping into the back of my head about Messi, about the Inter Miami project. Obviously, Jordi Alba has already re-signed an extension. I don't really think that has anything to do with Messi.
I'll disagree with you on this. And first off, I love the way you put it, that you thought it would be buttoned up. And I think it is. I do. Jordi Alba's not re-signing if he doesn't know his best friend's not staying. He's not.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. But let's get, what's the holdup?
Well, you were in the league playing when David Beckham was doing loans to Europe. Now, our league, Major League Soccer, is exponentially different than it was back then.
Right.
Landon Donovan went to Everton for a little bit of a loan while he was an LA Galaxy player. This has happened at times before. I think Lionel Messi and his group are trying to figure out where that's going to be. I really believe that Messi wants to look at a loan option before the World Cup comes in 26. And he may say to Inter Miami, listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here, but I need to figure it out because, Dax, the complexity of the MLS schedule, I don't think Lionel Messi wants to. And this is straight from his owner, David Beckham, when he told me on ESPN and SportsCenter when he made the loans to PSG, AC Milan. he didn't want to take 3 months off, 4 months off from any competitive games going into World Cup qualifying or a World Cup year. I think that's what this is. I don't think Jordi Alba resigns for the deal that he signed if he knows that Lionel Messi's not there for the end of 26 and even 27. When that stadium opens up, Freedom Park in Miami, I promise you this, Lionel Messi will be on Inter Miami. I just think they're going through the process of figuring it out, what it looks like heading into the World Cup. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Taylor. And I have to say, Messi, he seems happy. He seems genuinely happy off the field, right? And we can argue back and forth about on the field what it's looked like.
I think we'll agree. I don't think he
times.
seems happy on the field, buddy.
On the field, I think he seems annoyed, all right?
Yes.
And there are certain moments where he'll pull a rabbit out of a hat, he'll score a great goal, he'll be involved in the game, he'll be the best player on the field, and you see a cheeky smile and he gives some hugs, right? More times than not, if they draw or obviously if they lose, he's storming off the field. The body language is a little bit questionable. I get it. But off the field, I think his happiness off the field trumps really anything that's happening on the field and the inconsistencies with Inter Miami. I think his family's happy. You know how it goes, Taylor. Happy wife, happy life. Kids are happy. Kids are settled. It surprises me that there's been no announcement yet, but I tend to agree with you and I lean the same way. It would be, I think, a catastrophic shock if Messi was not in an Inter Miami jersey next year.
And you know he's speaking to Jordi and Sergio and Suarez. And there's rumors right now that Suarez is going to retire at the end of the year. So maybe Messi's trying to figure out who the next players are. Regarding his happiness on the field, he should have thought about when he built the roster, but I digress. Happiness on the field has been a long time coming for Toronto. Now, they just announced they mutually agreed to terminate the contracts of designated players Bernardeschi and Insigne. Dax, a lot of people will say Lorenzo Insigne is the worst designated player in the history of the league.
I'll say
I
that.
think there's fair enough.
No
You're
problem.
going to give me the reasons why. I think he's in the top 3 or 5 in the conversation, but either way, it was an utter disaster. Lorenzo Insigne in MLS. Good for Toronto to do it now in the summer transfer window because that usually means they've got an option or two to bring in. But, buddy, first and foremost, tell me what you thought of Insigne in Toronto. And secondly, how do they fix Toronto, which is a complete mess on the field?
Yeah, Insigne is the worst designated player in the history of Major League Soccer. I have no issue saying that, and that's not to slight him personally or his character. Production on the field, success with Toronto FC on the field for the price that you pay, complete disaster. And Taylor, you'll know this well because you were in the league at the time. I played with a guy in Danielson who I would also consider one of the worst designated players in the history.
He'd be in the top 3 for me.
In the history of Major League Soccer.
First off, Dax, the Nike commercial before the 98 World Cup where Danielson was, I still get chills, and he showed up 40 pounds overweight.
Yeah, he was not good enough on the field. He was there for a vacation. By the way, wonderful guy, absolutely incredible 5v2 player, one of the best I ever played with, which you would expect that. Him and Mehdi Bellucci, top 3 5v2 players I ever played with. But with Danielson, he was there for 7 months. He was there for 7 months, and guess what? You could get out of that contract no problem. Insigne, that was a really difficult contract to get out of, right? And I think it was a great swing. It was a big attempt from Toronto FC to really kind of go off the back of their success of Greg Vanney, right? Insigne had the profile of a player who I thought would be hyper successful in Major League Soccer. It didn't work out. And his attitude should be questioned at times.
Oh, no doubt.
He wasn't as committed as he should have been.
Dax, to your point, I was in the building when he won the Euros against England in Wembley.
And how good was he?
And he was good. But here's my pushback to anyone that said that they just thought it was going to be a home run. Because I remember saying it at the time. And I just remember hearing he very rarely left Napoli.
Yeah.
And why do I bring that up? It's a lot different over here. Steven Gerrard very rarely left Liverpool. And then he shows up in LA. He has no idea about 4-hour flights and time changes in the climate and the culture. It's just different.
Yeah,
and some players don't acclimate to that. Why did Zlatan hit the league running? He had been all over the world. But this is a club for our global listeners here on It's Called Soccer. They spend money like it's nothing, and they will go for broke no matter who it is. They have to do a better job of vetting the type of player. When they went and got Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, it surprised everybody because both players are at the peak of their careers in Europe making real money, and then they trumped it by giving them more money. But why did it work? Because those two players understood what it meant. And then Giovinco was added to that. Okay? If you're looking at a player like Kyle Larin, that's the kind of guy you go get. That's the kind of guy you go get. You've got to find one of the designated players that understands what it's like to play in North America. Carlos Vela knew exactly what that was like, and that's why LAFC hit a home run. Chucky Lozano looks like it's going to be the same type of signing for San Diego. Toronto's got to do their homework better is basically what I'm saying, Dax. Last week, we had some big results in Major League Soccer. Columbus beat Philadelphia in a game that actually had a weather delay, as we were talking about. But now the Eastern Conference now makes it a little bit tighter. San Diego won late against Dallas. I saw on MLS On Air that you have them as favorites to win the Supporter Shield. San Diego, as an expansion team, wins the Shield. How, Dax?
Because they have the coach of the year right now. With all due respect and apologies to Jesper Sorensen, Mikey Veras is the MLS coach of the year right now. The things that I have seen him do tactically in-game, it's his in-game management. I think a lot of coaches look like great coaches before the game. You can set your team up tactically, you have your principles of play, and you might push back here a little bit because some teams in MLS have been abysmal this year, but that's a conversation for another day. As far as what Mikey Veras does in-game, it is so impressive, and you can actually see it happening in real time with San Diego. When you talk about San Diego, what do you think of? I think of possession. I think of build out of the back. I think of a midfield that is interchangeable, that's super comfortable in possession. I think of rotations that make sense. I think of players being on the same page. Do you know how many times, Taylor, they've won a game by just saying, hey, come press us up high. Boom, in behind, Anders Dreyer, Chucky Lozano running in at your goalkeeper, 1v1 or 2v1, whatever it is. More times than I care to count. Because this is a team that can adjust on the fly. Mikey Veras and his staff have done such a wonderful job of adjusting to games. And by the way, they've done a lot of this with Chucky Lozano injured for a decent portion of the season, which is why Anders Dreyer is my MVP right now. Mikey Veras is my coach of the year right now. San Diego can beat you in a ton of different ways. They aren't just a one-trick pony, even though, Taylor, we've seen in the past, the last couple of years, the teams that usually have the most success in Major League Soccer are possession-based teams. This is the trend right now in Major League Soccer. Mikey Veras and San Diego are doing it better than anyone else, but they aren't just they don't just have to beat you with beautiful, methodical build-up play. I love watching this team play. It's as a guy who's been a part of an expansion team, who our ethos and philosophy was just, hey, let's keep a game tight, hold on for dear life defensively, and hit you on the break. I am so impressed. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with what San Diego has done this year.
Dax, if Mikey Veras in San Diego win the Supporter Shield, he will be the first coach in American sports history to win the league as an expansion team. Now, Bradley Carnell became the first coach in American sports history to win the conference, but San Diego looks right now on pace because the West is a lot easier than the East.
Exactly
to
my point.
Actually be a front runner to win the Supporter Shield. By the way, San Diego hosts Houston on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV this weekend. I will be in what I think could be a preview for MLS Cup. I will be in Seattle for Seattle hosting the Columbus Crew.
Wow,
I think this summer, when the transfer window's done, my pushback to you in San Diego winning the Shield, I think the Shield will go through the state of Ohio. I think Cincinnati and Columbus will make a run at the Supporter Shield because, one, Columbus is going to find one, if not two players. Two, Cincinnati is going to find their fourth and fifth gear, which they haven't already, and yet they're still on pace to win the Supporter Shield. We've got some great games this weekend. Seattle, Columbus, Sunday Night Soccer on MLS Season Pass. That's it for this week's show. We'll be back next Friday on July 11th, reacting and building up to the Club World Cup final on It's Called Soccer Summer Series. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. See you next week.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.